Quick disclaimer. Information in this podcast is for general informational purposes only and is not intended to be treated as medical advice. Always consult with your healthcare team before making changes to your diet, lifestyle, supplementation, or medication.
When we see news headlines across the Wild West web, the details of studies are often misreported, over-exaggerated, or pushed out of proportion. Often, there's more to the story than meets the eye. We'll be exploring this today while looking at the study results for the soups and shakes diet for type 2 diabetes remission.
Welcome to Type 2 Diabetes Talk, the place where we chat about what really works to treat type 2 diabetes and prediabetes naturally with nutrition and lifestyle. If you're looking to optimize blood sugar and A1C, lose weight, reduce medications, and improve your overall health, this is the place to be. Now, here's your host, type 2 diabetes nutrition specialist, Dr. Jetta.
Hello, wonderful people, and welcome to episode 39. Last week's episode, number 38, on morning blood sugar levels, otherwise known as fasting blood sugar, was very popular. We explained why morning blood sugar levels are high, as this is often very confusing for a lot of people. And more importantly, we cover different methods and strategies that can help you get those high levels back to normal, along with the best natural therapeutic methods as well. We've received a few follow-up emails with questions, so if you still have questions about fasting levels yourself, please head over to our website and send us an email or voice message, as we may do a follow-up Q&A session on this topic soon. It's always a highly relevant thing to everyone because it is a common problem, those high morning levels. And as I said in episode 38, if you try some of those strategies and you do see changes, be sure to drop us an email to report them, because we do love hearing about these things, about your progress. For today's episode, we're going to dive into a topic that's been pretty hot in the media the past week or so, with press releases across different outlets, then across different magazines and news sites, business sites, you name it. The headlines have been around. And if you haven't seen them yet, perhaps you might, as they can take a while to circulate across the globe. You all know my thoughts about the Wild West web, and let's face it, I love the headlines, so let me read a few of these to you. Real-world proof. A third of type 2 diabetes patients in remission with soups and shakes diet. The soups and shakes diet study shows 1/3 of people with type 2 diabetes enter remission. Doctor says diet of 2 things for 12 weeks can put diabetes into remission and helps weight loss. Type 2 diabetes program puts 32% of patients into remission. Okay, we've got some interesting claims here. Apparently, the soup and shake diet put 32% or 1/3 of people with type 2 diabetes into remission. Is this really true or just smoke and mirrors? Well, hold that thought, as we'll come back to this later. What these headlines are referring to are some new study results based on a paper published in The Lancet Diabetes and Endocrinology on August 5th, 2024. The Lancet is a highly prestigious journal, so publications that get published there often get lots of media attention. The paper was titled Early Findings from the NHS Type 2 Diabetes Path to Remission Program, a prospective evaluation of real-world implementation. Essentially, the study looked at 2-year follow-up data for participants referred to the program provided by the UK National Health Service. We'll come back to this in a moment, but let's look at a bit of the background for what established this program to be offered by the UK National Health Service in the first place. So this study has come from a background of previous studies that have shown very low calorie diets can achieve remission in people with type 2 diabetes. The direct and the droplet study, they're the 2 names of the studies that have shown this. And both of these trials were based on the Cambridge diet, a shake diet that came out of the mid-80s. The Cambridge diet is now the Cambridge Weight Plan, which interestingly now offers various processed food products in the form of soups, shakes, bars and meals. But we're not here to talk about that, so back to diabetes remission. Although there have been documented cases and published reports of remission previously, the DIRECT study was one of the first to bring the concept of diabetes remission to centre stage, simply because they made a hoo-ha about it and described the intervention as the first evidence from randomised trials of a dietary and lifestyle intervention with remission of type 2 diabetes as a primary outcome. The thing is, other people just hadn't called it remission. Other reports called it improving or reversing diabetes or getting off medication, whatever it was, because as we covered in episode 24, which was all about remission, the consensus definition term, remission, wasn't even decided until 2021, after a 2020 scoping review of studies noted there were 96 different definitions of remission. So the consensus of using the word remission as the, shall we say, proper term was decided in 2021. Diabetes remission is defined as an HbA1c of less than 6.5% taking no glucose-lowering medication for at least 3 months. As we spoke about in episode 24, that was the one on remission, primarily there are 2 ways to achieve diabetes remission. One is through bariatric surgery, the other is through making diet and nutrition changes, with 2 diets proven to do this: very low calorie diets and low carbohydrate diets. Coming back to this new paper on soups and shakes diet leading to T2D remission, let's take a closer look at some of the details of the study, which looked at 2-year follow-up data for participants referred to the program. Essentially, because of the results of the DIRECT and the Droplet clinical trials, the program was offered in the UK via the National Health Service to implement a similar program in the real world. The actual program is called NHS Type 2 Diabetes Path to Remission Program, but it's become more well known in the UK as the Soups and Shakes program or the Soups and Shakes diet for type 2 diabetes, and that's what's been across all these news headlines as well. So this program, it goes for 12 months and it starts with 3 months of soups and shakes that provide around 800 to 900 calories per day, along with weekly coaching sessions over the first month and bi-weekly in the 2 months following. The next 4 to 6 weeks involves food reintroduction and at least 4 coaching sessions, and the remainder of the 12-month duration involves maintenance of goals with at least monthly coaching sessions. Essentially, we're talking about a very low-calorie meal replacement diet, which was offered to people in the real world alongside coaching, not in a clinical trial like the previous studies.
It's time to leave all the noise and confusion behind and get proven, practical solutions that really work. Understand your diabetes and exactly what to eat to keep your blood sugar stable, lose weight, and reduce medications. All this and more is possible with Dr. Jetta's scientifically proven T2 diet program. Take charge of your diabetes health and join the program today. Visit type2diabetestalk.com/programs.
We see these things in the news all the time, and the details are often misreported or over-exaggerated or pushed out of proportion. So with many studies, we have to look at the details more closely. I read the paper, and even to me, with experience in reading lots of academic publications, the way they reported the data was very confusing, and there were errors in the paper too. Overall, there were 7,540 people referred to the program over a 2-year period between 2020 and 2022. 2,425 of those people were not even interested in taking the program and they never attended. Another 775 hadn't started the program by December 2022. Only 23% of all people referred to the study had time to undertake and complete the full program by December 22. That's only 1,740 people. Out of the 1,740 people, only 55% completed the program. That's only 960 people. The other 45% never completed the program. That's 780 people. Out of the 960 people who completed the program, only 450 people had 2 HbA1c measurements recorded at the beginning and the end of the study, which is what is needed to assess whether remission was achieved or not. Now, 450 people, out of all of the people, that's only 6% of the people referred to the study. Yet, that's where the news headlines of 32% of remission was drawn from. If you're completely confused by what I've just said, join the club. I had a difficult time working out exactly how they'd reported this study, as this is a very strange way to report results, and I wouldn't call it robust by any means. What they've actually done is bring it right down to the smallest possible denomination. Basically, the study results highlighted across all the news headlines focused only on the 145 people who achieved remission, which would be 32% of the 450 participants who had completed the program and had completed 2 HbA1c measurements. That's only 6% of all the people referred to the program. What about the other 94%? Well, around 35% were still taking the program and 10% hadn't started. The other 49% either didn't take the program in the first place or they didn't complete it. Probably because it is so difficult to follow a very low-calorie diet. If all the data were included from the 7,540 people referred to the program, a large proportion of those still taking or not started would likely not complete it either. That's the reality. It's a hard thing to follow. And if we were to include all the data as it is, probably a better way to report it, there were 7,540 people referred to the program over that 2-year period. That means 52% of people didn't complete the study overall. And if we were looking at it from a real-world perspective, then it might be more accurate to say that only 1.9% of people referred to the program during this 2-year period achieved T2 diabetes remission. If we are looking at it as a real-world report of how people were doing after 2 years of referral to the program, the reality is the majority of people didn't take the program, didn't complete it, or hadn't completed it, and only a very small percentage of people managed to achieve remission. 1.9% of the total number referred to the program, which sounds a lot different to 32%, doesn't it? To re-emphasise again, very low-calorie diets are extremely difficult to follow. And in order to sustain the results, the program recommends people always consume around 2/3 of the total amount of food previously eaten. So basically, you'll be stuck on a calorie-restricted diet for the rest of your life if you want to maintain those results. Back in episode 24, where we covered remission, Helen pointed out that it seems diets like these require extraordinary superhuman self-control and denial. And yes, they certainly do. People have personally described these very low-calorie diets as brutal, grueling, and horrendous, as you can probably imagine. It's not pleasant to experience insatiable hunger, intolerable struggles with internal willpower and self-discipline, inability to socialise. Yes, that sounds pretty brutal and horrendous to me, and I would never wish to enforce that upon anyone. As noted in episode 24, the one where we covered remission, one of the primary issues with very low-calorie diets is they cannot be sustained long-term, if they can be sustained at all, which is the case for many. They are just too restrictive. And when it comes to reality, if something can't be sustained long-term, then we have to question how effective that strategy really is, because unfortunately, the results you achieved probably won't be sustainable. Debates also continue about the safety of these diets and their potential to cause harm to the body. And with this new study, concerns from eating disorder charities have been raised about people being put on a diet, especially one so restrictive. And that is certainly a concern, because if people are offered this type of diet in clinical practice by their doctor, they may think this is the only way to achieve remission or improve their diabetes. For many people, this may be a trigger for disordered eating behaviours, mindset issues, internal struggles, and overall negative outcomes, which certainly is not very good at all. As we also noted in episode 24, what also works to achieve diabetes remission is a low carbohydrate diet. We're not talking crazy keto or extreme carnivore type diets. Again, there's one major issue here. They are unsustainable for most people. Something else that's interesting about the soups and shakes diet is that it is actually a low carbohydrate plan, with the soups and shakes providing around 121 to 125 grams of carbs per day. And the food reintroductory phase of the program also includes recipes and meals that are, guess what? Low carbohydrate. From our perspective, and based on the research, to achieve remission, there is no need to go to extremes. What we're talking about is taking a long-term, sustainable, healthy low carbohydrate approach, which is the type of approach we've been encouraging for more than a decade at DMP. And it has certainly helped thousands of our members and subscribers completely change their diabetes health and achieve remission too. A healthy low-carb diet is really a very flexible way of eating that is sustainable over the long term. You won't have to go bury your head under the covers in the bedroom away from the family because you're starving, tired and irritable. Nope. A healthy low-carb eating plan does not require starvation or deprivation, with allowance for a wide variety of foods and meals to enjoy. You can still feel like a human in any situation. And it's been proven time and time again in research to be the most powerful and sustainable approach as well. I stand firmly in my recommendation of this, as I haven't seen any substantial scientific proof otherwise at this point. And remember, it's all about evidence over opinion. While we don't encourage very low-calorie diets, the one positive thing that has come out of all of these low-calorie diet studies is that remission has been acknowledged and that diet has been accepted as an option for type 2 diabetes remission. And the world is starting to wake up and see that type 2 diabetes is not a condition destined to get worse and worse, where people need to go on more and more meds. Oops. Sorry, pharmaceutical companies, we're catching on to the over-medicalisation of health conditions such as type 2 diabetes. Well, perhaps very, very slowly, because clearly there are still major issues in our system. For example, the medical care guidelines state that diet and lifestyle should be a first-line treatment strategy at all stages of diabetes. Yet we know that doesn't happen. Prescribing medication is most common. While science has proven that diet and nutrition can indeed be a first-line treatment strategy at all stages of diabetes and help people achieve normal blood sugar and A1C and reduce and stop meds, we know it's still not happening. Prescribing medication is most common. But we know if that's the only type of care people receive, if people only get standard care, they are likely to get worse and need to take more and more medications. Studies have shown this too, including my own T2 diet study. Over the 16-week clinical trial of the T2 diet program, the people taking the T2 diet program alongside standard care had an average A1C reduction of almost 1%. And they dramatically reduced medications. 87% of people reduced medications. While the control group who received standard care only saw a minimal 0.26% A1C reduction and saw an increase in medications. And that's just in 16 weeks. The type of standard care we're providing in most clinical settings is achieving next to nothing or leading to a pathway to more medications and potentially diabetes complications. Current best practice guidelines are really the opposite of best practice. Doctors should be offering diet and nutrition as a solution to diabetes, period. They should be all over this stuff. But they're just not. As we spoke about way back in episode 3, diet and nutrition are the most important part of your treatment. The most important part, whether that's pre-diabetes or type 2 diabetes. If you can get your diet and nutrition right, you can completely change your diabetes health. With the right diet and nutrition, a healthy, sustainable, low-carbohydrate nutrition plan, you can get your blood sugar and HbA1c levels back to normal. Lose weight if you need to, and it's going to be a lot easier than any other diet. Reduce your risk of nasty diabetes complications. Reduce or eliminate your need for medication. Improve cholesterol and blood pressure. Decrease insulin resistance and improve insulin sensitivity. Decrease liver fat and normalize liver function. Decrease pancreatic fat and improve pancreatic function. Decrease inflammation. Reduce hunger, increase energy, and even achieve diabetes remission. There are just so many reported benefits. So, in terms of this soups and shakes diet we've talked about today, yes, it may work, and if you want to try it, go ahead. But it also comes with many downsides. On the other hand, a healthy, sustainable, low-carbohydrate nutrition approach provides many proven benefits, and it's flexible and sustainable long-term. If offered the choice, I know my preference. What about you? As I said in episode 24, where we covered remission, please go and listen to that. Please don't get sold a race to remission or buy into any weird or crazy dietary proponents. It's just not necessary. The key to any permanent change is sustainability. You can get started today with a sustainable eating approach. And if you don't have a copy of our recommended food list, head over to type2diabetestalk.com/food list to get a free copy. Make some changes to your eating plan so that it more closely aligns with the food list, as it provides a proven, practical nutrition approach for you to achieve better blood sugar and A1C results. The food list also contains some delicious recipes, so I'd recommend you try those too. Back in episode 33, we covered some diabetes bloopers, and Tim said he was told by his doctor that I wouldn't have diabetes if I wasn't fat. Even my doctor told me if I would just lose weight and go down to 150 pounds, it would cure the diabetes. She told me to get bariatric surgery to take 80% of my stomach out. I said, no thanks. Next time I saw her, she said, I see you like being fat since you decided not to get the surgery. Does this sound like a familiar situation to you? If you said yes, you'd be joining many others. The stigmatisation of weight is a crucial issue in healthcare. Next week, we're diving in to explore more about it and sharing a lived experience of Helen and what she has faced in terms of stigma and fat shaming. Until next week, take care. Dr. Jeddah, over and out.
Thanks for tuning in to Type 2 Diabetes Talk. Please subscribe to the show on your favorite podcast platform. And for episode replays, episode notes, and more, visit type2diabetestalk.com. New episodes are available Tuesdays, 10 a.m. U.S. Eastern Time, or your time zone equivalent. Thanks again. We're truly grateful to be a part of your life and help make a real difference.